Hi everybody. Hi, this is JoAnn from the Cakeway here to decorate a couple of cookies with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you will just give me a second, I'm going to get this post ready to go. Here we go. Alrighty, so let me show you. I've been getting together a few things for you, just kind of to let you know the tools and everything that we'll be using, and putting together the booklet for you guys that'll show you kind of like everything that you'll need to get going with today's project. And you give me just a second. I want to make sure that you can get it. Okay, good. All right, here we go. So today's so the keyword for today's live is boo, B-O-O. If you type in boo, if you don't already have the decorating ebook that I sent out, then if you type in boo, you'll get that. I'll show you the cookies that we're working on today. So I have this. This is actually the floral cookie that we decorated in the fall. This is another cookie made with that same cutter. So I'm going to be using it as a cauldron today. So we're actually going to be doing the flames at the bottom, and you guys are going to see, you know, some of the little ooey gooey stuff coming out from the outside of it. So that's going to be pretty awesome. Another cookie that I have here, this is just a regular pumpkin. We decorated these pumpkins about 2 weeks ago when we did the fall cookies. And so we're going to be doing them again, but this time we're going to make it into a scary, spooky pumpkin. Everything spooky this time. Marilee, hi. Thank you so much for joining me. Kathy, hi. Thank you for being here. I have this cutter here. This is actually one of the Sweet Sugar Bells cookie cutters. This is from the Halloween Sweet Sugar Bell set, and we're going to be turning this into a mummy. And so this is actually, I think like you can either do it this way and do like the eyes on either side, but this time we're going to be making it into a mummy. So we're going to turn it straight up and down like this to do that. And then the last cookie that I have, this is a witch's hat. And so we're going to be doing a little something with that. In the booklet that I created for you, I have the sketches. So you guys can kind of sketch out your cookies as you need to, you know, be able to see the design. Let me show you what else I did. I took the liberty of creating some, this is with fondant. I took the liberty of creating some of the little fondant molds. And I used this mold here, and I have a link to that in the cookie decorating ebook that you guys will get. So this is just nothing but a silicone mold, and I created some of these. So what we're going to do is if we decide to use any on our cookies, then we're going to paint them. And I have a few of the paint brushes here to do that. And let's see, aside from that, I am using this. This is going to give me the pattern that we're using to put on this cookie here. So this is from Sweet Sugar Bells. This comes inside that kit. So this is going to kind of allow us, and I'm not sure if you guys can see it. So how about if we do this? Maybe you can see it a little bit better now. So this is going to give us the ability to be able to draw like the face and everything on. So that'll be a little bit easier. Okay. And I'll put that aside, and I have a couple of sprinkles So I have these sprinkles. I have these ooey gooey spooky sprinkles. These are just some circles, some little dots in orange, black, and yellow. And then I have these. These are some pretty big Day of the Dead sprinkles. They're skulls. And then I have some of the sanding sugar. So I have black sanding sugar, and I have the deep green sanding sugar also, and I have some eyes. Marilee, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Guys, if you are not able to get any of the goodies that I have for you, let me know. And I'm going to see if I can't go back in there and do something to change it. So let's get started. I think what we are going to do first is to add our black onto this cookie here. And so to do that, I have a little bit of thick black here. I'm just going to squirt a little bit down. I really don't need a lot. So I'm just going to squirt a little bit down, and I'm going to paint over this part here. So I have my little paintbrush here. So this is literally just going to go in and go right over the places that we're going to put the eyes. So if you think about, you know, where your spacing is going to be on your pumpkin, you just kind of put it right over where you want to put your eyes. So how are you guys doing today? Thank you so much for joining me on this lovely Friday. Today, my daughter is out of school today. It's the end of their first 6 weeks. We started late here in Texas. I guess we don't have as many of the days out of school as other places do. But she's excited, so I'm fine. So she's out of school today. She didn't want to help me. Of course not. How are things going for you guys on today? Is anybody decorating cookies? It's, here it's a bit, I don't want to say cool. We're like up in the upper 80s. And we're supposed to have a little bit of rain coming in, so we're all looking forward to that. Yay! Now, guys, if you comment and I don't see it, just kind of write back, because I'm obstructed as far as the amount of comments that I can see. I can't really see a whole lot at a time. Brenda, oh, you're here from Colorado. Oh, thank you so much for joining me today. Oh, I bet it's lovely this time of year in Colorado. I bet it's beautiful. Oh, Dee Dee, you're here. Thank you so much for joining me. Sis, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, so guys, as you can see here, I just kind of put the black on. It doesn't have to be perfect, because this is actually going to be on the underside of our decorations. So you really won't see much of this except for just like kind of where the outline of the eyes and everything will be. So it doesn't look like much now, but I'm going to take this and set it aside. And now I'm going to rinse off my brush real quick, and then we're going to move on. Oh, Erlinda, you're from New York City. Oh my goodness. I bet it's just beautiful up there in New York City. I can about imagine just seeing all the beautiful trees with the browns and yellows and deep greens and oranges and burgundies. I bet that's so pretty. Oh, Tamika, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Alrighty, so we've rinsed off our brush and now we're going to move on. I think what we're doing now is let's put the black on our cauldron on, and then we can start playing with our fire. Okay, so here's a tip, guys. When you're laying down the icing on your pumpkin cookie, you want to lay it down so that it's at least smooth enough. You really don't want it to be too you don't want it to be too blotchy or anything like that, because then it won't give you a smooth surface on the underside of it, and so you're going to be able to see it, and so you don't want that to happen. So all I'm doing now is I'm creating the lip for my cauldron, and this is so that we can have a distinction between the rim of the cauldron and the bottom of it. Okay, so there we go with that. And what I think I'll do now is get the bottom part done. Mary Lee, I can see just the very littlest part of your comment. I think you're saying that you are decorating Halloween cookies. Oh, Mary Lee, the last cookies that you did were pretty good. Why don't you post these after you're done? I'd love to see them. I'd love to see what you guys are doing. So guys, if you are decorating cookies, don't be shy. I mean, share them. I would love to see your cookies. Okay. So here's what I have. I have a little bit of this kind of a burnt orange. And I have this. This is actually a neon orange. And then I'm going to mix it with a little bit of yellow. Okay, if you can see this. So this is going to create my fire colors. So what I'm going to do for this is I want to make it, I want to swirl the colors together. I'm sure you guys have heard of the wet on wet technique before, and that's actually what we're going to be using here. So I'm just going to outline. Make sure you guys can see me move a little bit more in frame. Now you don't have to follow the sketch. You don't have to follow the sketch directly. You can play around with it. That's what cookie decorating is. It's actually a form of art. So, if you want to, and I just kind of freehanded it and made it into what I thought it would look like. So yeah, you don't have to be exact and follow my sketches for it. If you have another idea in mind that you want to follow, then go for it. Go for it. I would love to see how it turns out, because I tell you what, two different people can decorate the same cookie and it'll look different every single time. And that's because everyone has their own spin or their own personality that, that comes out into the cookie, and that gets, that's what you end up seeing. And so cookies have just as much of a personality as anything else. So I certainly want to see it. And, yeah, it's going to be different. So you don't have to worry about trying to do it exactly like someone else did. Now my bag is a little wonky looking here, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more. Okay, so and now that I have my fire in, I'm just going to just take it and swirl it, but not too much. I don't want the colors to end up being all just kind of one new color. I want to show know that there are actually flames coming up. So I'm just going to kind of move it around, and be careful as to the, how often you kind of move it around or swirl it, because if you swirl it too much, then it'll definitely end up like the big color change. And so that's not really what you want. If you do feel like you want to add some more color in another spot, then you can certainly do that as well. Like, I feel like I want to add just a little bit more of the yellow here to my peaks. And to the bottom. And just kind of swirl that in a little bit more. Alrighty. And if you don't have this particular cutter, you don't have to do it in this color, in this cutter. This was just one of the ones that I had already. But you can kind of do this design on any cutter that you have, any round cutter. If you have a round cutter and you want to do this design, you can certainly do it on that, or anything else. What I'll do now is I'm going to take this and just kind of push it aside. And let's work on the hat a little bit. Now, for the hat, this is my witch's hat. I have something really cute that I think I want to do with it. And that's just to give it, some different colors and a little bit of a different definition. So what I'll do first is just go ahead and fix this part of the hat. As you can tell, I've been messing with it a little bit and I broke it. So let's go ahead and stick that back on. And I used just a little bit of my thicker royal icing, my thicker consistency royal. And okay. Life happens though, and so that's kind of, it's a better time that this happened now while you guys are able to see how to fix a cookie than it would another time. So instead of working on this, I'm going to actually let this little guy sit for a little while. And this is another thing too. Some cookies are a little bit more fragile than others. And so this is one of those, this is a really good example of a fragile cookie. This would be a good cookie for, if you're making it for your customer, if you're making it for family, if someone were coming to pick it up directly from you, where you're not trying to package it and mail it. Because 9 times out of 10, just the way that it's made, being that it's very thin right here, it'll break very easily, as you guys seen. So I'm going to take that and push it aside now and let that sit and dry for a little bit and crust over while we move on. So I have a little bit of my white, and I have it in the same kind of container with all my other colors, and so some of my other colors are kind of getting on it a little bit. Okay. So here I'm just making some eyeballs. Alrighty. And I want to give him a nose too. Now his nose is going to be a little bit different. So I think I'm going to work with the tip now. So I'm using a Wilton #2 tip, and this is just a thicker kind of a bigger hole. And I'm using a different bag also. So what I'll do now is, now this is a really, really thick icing. But what I'm doing is I want to pipe his nose and I want to flood over it. And I want to do that to kind of make sure that you can see his nose through his bandages, or you can see the shape of his nose through his bandages, I should say. So I'm just going to go over this and make it a little bit bigger. And give him a definite nose here. Now, trust me, when you do his nose, like, you don't have to be perfect at all, because when we cover over it with our icing, you're not going to be able to see it at all. So if you have any peaks, once you do this part, you can just pat over it. Pat it down. Terry, hi. Thank you for being here today. So guys, don't forget, the keyword for today's live is boo. So if you type boo in the comments, then you're going to see the freebies that I have for you. So don't forget to type boo in the comments. All right. Okay, so now I'm just placing the stencil right over the part that I kind of flooded already, if you will. And I'm using my scribe to etch. It might be a little bit difficult to see through the lights and everything else, but I'm just taking my scribe and sketching along that area, because I'm going to come back and flood it. And when I flood it, I don't want to get any of the parts that we've already done. So now I'm just going to take my brush and kind of brush this away, because remember, we want a smooth surface. Alrighty. We need a smooth surface when we put our royal icing over the top of this. So we want it to be as smooth as possible. So here we go. You can probably see the sketch lines now that I've done, and that's exactly what I want. So now what I want to do is just kind of make a little indentation or a note of where I want my pumpkin layers to go, because I don't want them to be one solid orange pumpkin. So I want him to have lines and definition. So all I did was just kind of go through with my scribe, and all I'm doing here is going through with my scribe and deepening my line to make sure that when I do come back and flood it, I can flood it in layers so that I can see that definition. Okay, so let's go ahead and clean our surface again. And here we go. I have a little bit of my orange. Why don't we do this? So I decided to do something a little bit different. I have a bag, and this is another brand of tipless bag. I got these from Amazon, and I don't, I mean, I actually love Amazon. I get a lot of my stuff from Amazon just because it's 2-day shipping. But this particular bag is not as great of a quality as the Bees Baked Art bags. And that's the bag that I use all the time. You know that it's Bees Baked Arts because it has the logo here on the top. So I like to use their bags, and I have that linked also, so that you guys can get it. So what I did was I just cut a bigger hole into the black that I have, and this is a thicker black. This is actually a writing consistency. And I just dropped this in here. So now that I have that in the bag, this is my 1.5 tip. Okay. So I'm just going to outline this section here. And why am I doing that? Because when I flood the rest of the cookie, I don't want the flood to come in and go over the black part of the eyes, because then it'll kind of defeat the purpose of what we did. So guys, if you are watching this live for the first time, there are a few things that I have for you guys. I have a in the ebook that I created for you is a link, and the link is for the free sugar cookie and royal icing ebook that I have. So check that out if you're new to the live. You can get my recipe and my royal icing recipe free. And also it'll give you a chance to sign up for my newsletters. I post recipes on my page weekly, and you know, my passion is also cookie decorating. So in addition to scratch baking, which is what the recipes are, I really enjoy decorating. And I teach it actually locally here in town. Okay. So what I'm doing here is just, as I do my pumpkin, I'm going to give them a little bit of character. Now, as you can see, I'm doing just the inside of my pumpkin. So check out my ebook, and yeah, there are a lot of cool things in there for you. And join me, of course, each week on Friday. Okay. And guys, share. I would really appreciate a share from you guys, because I'm trying to grow. I'm just kind of getting started, and it'll help. It helps Facebook to share my pages with other people with similar likes when you share my video. So please share. I really do appreciate it. And show up just by having you here means a lot to me. So I appreciate that too. I do have, so I have a few things that are going on, and I have a few projects that I'm getting ready to launch really soon. I'm getting ready to launch my subscription group, and this group is a monthly cookie decorating group. And so that is called the Cakeaway Cookie Club. You can see this is halfway done, so I'm going to take this and set it aside, and then when we come back, we're going to do this side, and then we're going to be able to do this side. So I'm going to let this sit for a while. So my subscription group is going to be the Cakeaway Cookie Club, and with that, we'll meet once a month in my group, and we decorate cookies together. But not just that, so I take you guys from the very beginning. So this is, if you guys are struggling with consistencies, we will make the royal icing together, and I will show you how to prepare the consistencies for the project that we're going to be working on. In addition to that, you guys are going to get the recipe that we're going to be using for that particular month. So I'll tell you about the one recipe that I told you guys about last week that I was testing out, and that is a pumpkin spice sugar cookie recipe. So you'll get that free also in the group. So every month we'll be, testing out a new recipe. So you get to try it out and see if it's something that you want to implement in your bakery or at home, or, share it with your family or your friends. It's always good to kind of, try different recipes and see what you like. So in addition to that, you guys will also, just for joining my subscription group, the Cakeaway Cookie Club, you guys are also going to get access to my recipe library. So in my library, there are tons of other recipes for scratch cake recipes. You guys know I'm all about scratch. So cake recipes, these are buttercream recipes. These are any kind of, different frostings. It doesn't have to be buttercream, just different frostings, homemade fillings, anything like that. I have that also as a thank you for joining my subscription group. So I'm going to set this aside. And then we're going to move back on the hat. So as you notice, this time when I touched it, I didn't touch it from the side. I think I'm going to let that part chill for a little while. I'm not going to mess with it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and flood the main part of the hat. So guys, stay tuned. There are a lot of new things that I have coming out for you guys, and that's going to be available, and I'm so excited to be able to release this to you guys. So I'm shooting for, so Terry, my subscription group is going to be 34. And with that subscription group, what you get is, you get, of course, access to the entire library. You get the free sugar cookie recipe every month. And you get we'll be doing different lives every month as we prepare the royal icing for our project. You will, you know, get to see everything from the preparation to thinning out and preparing the, getting the icing ready for the project, getting your, basically everything that we'll need to do. And of course, there's going to be the ability to ask questions and everything else. And all of the ebooks that I have created, you guys are going to get access to as well. In addition to that, any of the previous videos that we've done, you guys are going to get access to that as well. So there are a lot of freebies in that group that you're going to get. There are a lot of freebies in the group, and I'm excited about it. So just kind of stay tuned. Okay, so I'm just adding just a couple of fun designs to my hat. To my witch's hat. Just to make it interesting. Alrighty, here we go. Maybe we should do a different color. Why don't we... Let's do a little bit of this terracotta. Or this burnt orange. I was going to use a little bit of the yellow, but I think that the yellow kind of, I think it stands out a little bit more. It's not stands out. It's too much of almost the same color as the green. So maybe we're not going to do that. Alrighty, here we go. So I think what I'll do now is I think I'm going to add this green right here in the middle, but I'm going to wait for that because if I do it right now, then it's just going to kind of bleed over the rest and become one big blob of a section. And so I don't want to do that. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. So now that I have that in, I'm just going to move this along. and do the same thing to the very bottom of it, because I want to make it interesting as well. Now with that fix that we did, I still wouldn't handle it by, touching it or moving it by holding on to any of the sides, because it's still pretty weak. We fixed it, so it's fixed enough to where we were able to put the decorations over it. And of course, when it dries, it'll dry harder. But I would certainly be very careful as to how I handle it. So if you do have to fix a cookie, then just kind of, keep in mind that you may have to handle it differently. You may have to handle it a little bit differently. Okay, I think I reached the clock. Yes, I reached the clock. And so if you do, I usually just keep a napkin right beside me so that I can squeeze out the tip and get any of the little hard bits out. Royal icing, it has a tendency of, it has a tendency to dry very quickly. And so if you do run into an issue with your icing, just kind of move over. I usually keep a paper towel right beside me and squeeze the tip out a little bit so that you can clear it really easily before you move forward. So in the coming in the next upcoming weeks, in a few upcoming weeks, you guys are going to see more and more about my cookie club that's going to be coming out. So if you're interested, just kind of just kind of keep a watch out for it. There's going to be more and more. I recently just created the group, and so there's a lot of other things in the back end that I need to get going, and just kind of putting the infrastructure together. That's always kind of a hard word to say. Just getting the infrastructure together so that when we do take off, it'll be seamless. So just kind of be looking for that. You guys are going to see more and more about it. I would really, really love to see you in the group and to be able to work with you. Now, as we are doing a wet on wet technique, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is time. Royal icing does have a tendency of drying very quickly. So being that this is a wet on wet technique, you want to make sure that you're working it as, I don't want to say as fast as you can, but just kind of get your designs on so that that way it'll become one and not just end up being dots that's sitting on top of your project. Alrighty. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, so I'm going to let this sit aside right now for a minute. Let's go ahead and move this guy here. And I think we're going to work back on our pumpkin because he has had time to sit for a little while. So we should be able to come back and do the other sides of him. Should I do this first? Okay. So now I'm going to move over and get the other side. And I think now he's kind of starting to turn into a real pumpkin here. Or should I say a jack-o'-lantern? A spooky jack-o'-lantern. So as you do your outline, like you don't have to be very particular or anything else, because we're really going to be swirling those colors. And so you don't have to kind of be really, really on point with it. You can just kind of go around, jiggle it a little bit. As the consistency of your flood icing, it's very loose, and so when you put it down, it's going to just kind of fill in all of the gaps. And so if you're not as straight or it's not as perfect as you think you want it to be, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's going to fill it in. Now if you were using a thicker consistency, then it won't fill in as easy. And so really it's all about consistency. Okay. So I have our spooky jack-o'-lantern here. I think I'll call him Jack the Lantern. Ha ha ha. And I'm going to move this little guy over. Alrighty. So why don't we come back and work on our cauldron now? So guys, I think it's kind of starting to come together. What do you think? I think I'm going to take some of these I have some of the eyeballs here. Let's see what else I'm going to do. I think I'll take some of these with the broomsticks. And I bought these. I got these from Michael's. It was last year. They were having, it was after season, of course. And they had like all the little bags of the sprinkles and things. And they were like really, really inexpensive. I won't even say just like a few pennies. Or maybe 10 cents or 15 cents or something like that. And so I got these, and then I also on Amazon I saw these containers, and they came like 20 in a package. And so I got like the bigger containers as well as the smaller ones, and these were the smaller ones. And I thought that they were so cute, and so I used these. What I did was I opened all of the packages. I took a day and did this. I opened all of the packages, and I just put all of the sprinkles in the packages. So what I have here, this is my little tidy tray, and I forgot the name of the, I forgot where I got this from. It was on Etsy, but I forgot the name of the company that I got it from. So what I can do is I can kind of take a look at that. Or you know what? I think I do have it. I have it as a link on my website. So if you go to www.thecakeaway.com and you take a look at the My Kitchen, you can go to the cookie decorating section and you'll find a link to it there. I do believe I have a link to it there, so you can see it and be able to click on it and find it. So the beauty about this little thing here is that when you use it to kind of put your sprinkles down on, and you can just pour it right back into the bowl or into the container. So it really, really works out well. So I'm not going to put a lot here. I'm just going to put a little bit, and I'm going to go with my brush again to kind of brush it on. Because one, I don't want a lot. Two, if you overload such a small area, your icing is going to fall over the other side. And so you'll have pretty sprinkles, but then you'll be trying to keep the sprinkles onto the cookie, more or less, because the icing underneath it is so unsteady. Alrighty. So now that I have this, I can just kind of come back on and add the sprinkles in wherever I want. Now I want to be careful because or maybe I should have put a little dot of this underneath it. Now we're just going in and making this as spooky as possible by adding some spookies to it, just wherever you see that you'd like to add something weird or crazy to it. You can. I think I'm going to put a broom right there. I think I'm going to put another eyeball right here. It's just going to be a eyeball frenzy type thing. Maybe not. Maybe right here. I'll put the other eyeball. Alrighty. So now that I have that in place, what I think I'll do now is I'll make some ooey gooeys. Just some bubbles. And I'm using my thin just because this is a flood and I have it already, but preferably if you had like a thicker consistency, that would be better to use. I'm just using flood because I have it. So I'm just going to go in and add some little dots to it to make it more like some bubbles. So I have that going, so I think I'm going to take this out and let this sit for a while before I come back and add some more of the green dots to him. And I think I'll put this in here for a minute. Push these on the side. And I'll come back in and work on the hat. So it's almost 2 o'clock and I don't want to go too long. So instead of using any of the fondant pieces that I molded, I'm just going to flood this in with my green. Alrighty. And I'll let this little guy chill out for a little bit. Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to take him and this is my PME 1.5. Now the PME 1.5 tip is my favorite writing tip. So nothing fancy. I'm just going to come in here and give him a top. And this is a really thick consistency. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We're literally just doing lines. So I'm not trying to get it smooth. I want it to be rough. Okay. So I want it to be rough. So that's the reason that we use that. So as you can see, there is a bit of dimension and definition here. So I'm going to move this aside and I'm going to work on this guy here. It's not going to take us very long to do him. Okay. This is too thick of a consistency to do that with. Let's see if I can do this. Alrighty. So the last thing that I'm going to do is just to add his lines across this guy here. And Let's go ahead and add a tip on him and get this going. Okay, I think I'm going to switch consistencies here because that consistency is a little bit too loose for this project here, and so it's just melting upon each other. I think it's set for a little while, and I'm trying to rush because it's already a little bit past the hour. So great. Okay. So with this as well, if you mess up, it's okay because you're literally just going back over it with icing. And so it doesn't have to be very perfect. If there's anything that you mess up on it, just go back over it. Okay, so here we go. Here's our mummy. So here's our mummy. And here's our cauldron. So the very last thing we can do is come back in and add a few more. Of these green ooey gooeys. Just boiling out of the pot. And so this is it, guys. This is our set for today. You can add some more to it. I think I'm going to add another eyeball right in here. Yeah, maybe that's enough. And that's it. That's our set for today. Let's push it over to make sure we have it all in frame. Do we have it? Maybe this is better. Okay, So guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to type the keyword boo, and you guys will get the ebook where I have my sketches and my favorite tools and everything else that you'll need. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you guys all next week. Thank you, Marilee. Thank you, Rose. And yeah, thank you guys all for being here. I really, really appreciate you guys. All right, God bless. Oh, hi, sis. I didn't even see that you were here. Thank you so much for joining me, sis. All righty, God bless, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.